Many jurisdictions around the country have realized that if a person with mental illness commits a crime, both the individual and the community are better served by offering treatment instead of incarceration when appropriate. Getting individuals the treatment they need sets them up for future success in a greater way than jail time ever could. Diversion First is a multi-agency effort involving public safety and the Community Services Board. Let's find out about the progress this dedicated group has made.
National news headlines about confrontations between law enforcement and individuals with mental illness have compelled communities all over the U.S. to evaluate that aspect of the criminal justice system and come up with solutions. With the belief that people with mental illness need treatment and not incarceration, the Fairfax County government, along with local leaders, launched a community-wide Diversion First program.
The main purpose of the Diversion First program is to divert individuals that are nonviolent offenders into treatment as opposed to bringing them into jail. I have approximately 40% of my inmate population who suffers from some form of mental illness. And when it becomes too easy to bring somebody to jail as opposed to getting them into treatment, then that's a real problem.
I'm the product of a jail diversion program, and I've successfully been able to make the transition from having mental illness and not knowing what direction my life was going to go into to treating my mental illness, being successful, being healthy, and living a productive life in society. My job as a peer support specialist is to engage with the consumers I serve and relate to them that I've been through a similar struggle that they've been through, and hopefully they can learn from my mistakes and I can impart some wisdom to them. I can sort of be like a role model to them, and I'm a liaison for them to connect with the treatment team I work with.
Individuals suffering from mental illness will be able to get the help that they so desperately need. And eventually there will be a cost savings, because when we start the cycle that when someone is brought into jail or brought into a hospital, and eventually they'll be able to get into a stable and sustainable treatment program, the cost benefits will be tremendous.
Well, not every call is a law enforcement call. Sometimes people are in crisis and they need that type of service from a law enforcement officer. And so it's important to call CIT, ask for a CIT officer in those cases. Well, CIT officer, they have a deeper understanding of how to interact with people who are suffering from a mental illness.
I was in a program called Crisis Care, which is like a respite center for people with mental illness, so they can sort of go visit and kind of come to terms with what they're going through. And I wandered off in the middle of the night, and I wandered over towards Fairfax Hospital, where I was approached by a police officer who was CIT trained, crisis intervention trained, and he was able to coerce me into getting into the squad car. And just his tone and his inflection, his mannerisms were very soothing and welcoming and non-judgmental, and it was very helpful to me as a person with mental illness, as opposed to a situation that might have escalated if he had not been crisis intervention trained.
Today, police in Fairfax County can bring a nonviolent offender here to the Merrifield Crisis Response Center for a mental health assessment rather than taking them to jail if the police officer suspects that the person's behavior is a result of their need for mental health treatment.